Hello and welcome to GTO Coach and Go. I'm Jim Delleman with Group Travel Odyssey. I want to thank you for joining us for this first episode of 2025, which is actually the first episode of our fourth season of Coach and Goes. It's hard to believe. Since we do have a system that continues to evolve, we will always have something new to share with you on GTO Coach and Go. If this is your first time joining us, or if you've not done so before, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And if you also ring the little bell, you'll be notified whenever we have new content on our YouTube channel. You can connect with us on LinkedIn at Group Travel Odyssey, and you can also make sure to follow and like our Facebook page, Group Travel Odyssey. So there you have it. Well, today we're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the new stuff that's going to be happening, but we want to give you some pointers and some ways that you can streamline some of your processes in GTO. And who better to do that than our director of GTO, Corey Vries. Corey, welcome back.
Thanks. Same to you. Happy New Year.
Thanks. Happy New Year. It's hard to believe we are in 2025. It's also hard to believe that this is our fourth season of doing GTO Coach and Go.
I know. When you said that earlier to me, I was like, wow, 4 years of doing Coach and Go.
Yeah.
I am not getting any more photogenic as the years go by, but I'm certainly glad we've had these 4 years.
I am too. And if you're those of you watching, if you're noticing, Corey and I are both kind of bundled up today. I'm in New York, and it is we've warmed up to a lovely 19 degrees. So, we're really happy about that. And Corey, how warm are you in South Carolina right now?
Well, it's practically balmy compared to you. We are sitting at about 26.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is, much better. But we are supposed to get down to like in the teens this evening. That's unusual for us. But at least we're better off than New Orleans is right now.
I know. One of our members is in New Orleans right now, and they're having a snowstorm. So, yeah. Lovely time in New Orleans. So today we're going to be talking about ways that our members can streamline some of the processes that are in GTO. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over and let you get started.
Sounds good. So it's sort of a misnomer. I mean, these are process streamlining suggestions. These are things that I have actually learned from other people. Only one of which is mine, but from other people that I wanted to share because they were such great ideas. They're just simple process things that you can do in GTO to sort of help you out, or at least some mindsets to get you going in the right direction. So the first one is mine. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how GTO can help you stay on top of everything that you need to do, right? You know that there's activities that we can create, all that good stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about activities here in the future. But when I was a public school teacher, I remember my mother was one of those people that was like, you've got to get yourself organized. And I was terrible at it. Still am terrible at it. But when I was a teacher, the nice thing is that the day is organized into classes for you. And since I was a public school band director, I could set up my rehearsals. I knew every day I was meeting with this group, that sort of thing. So my day was sort of pre-organized for me. When I started working for a tour operator, I was suddenly cut loose from this hour you're going to do this, and this hour you're going to do this. And so I found myself struggling with keeping up with what I needed to do. I felt like I was busy all day, but then I would realize at the end of the day, there was something I was supposed to do that I didn't do. Uh-huh. So one of the ways that I kept myself occupied before GTO was, sadly, the folder method. I just had folders, and it was, I put folders in different sections of my rack. These I needed to do this with, and this I needed to do this with, and this I needed to do with this with. And then I realized that I didn't know when I was done, so I bought another rack, put it on the other side, and I took this and I moved it over to this one. And then at the end of the day, I just switched the racks again. So everything was in its place. So at the bottom were all the folders of trips that I needed to price out. And then the next one were ones that I needed to do revisions on or something like that, right? And thus in GTO, because a lot of us were doing it that way, the statuses were born. Opportunity, discovery, presentation, follow through, revision, pending, commitment, inactive, I believe are what they are. And I utilized those in the very first days to sort of organize myself in folders. So folders on the rack. So the trip itself was my folder, and the different levels on that rack were my sales statuses. So what I did, one of the first things I did when I realized this was an issue for me, is I made sure I used those statuses, and I created a funnel report. And that's what I wanted to show today, is sort of this funnel report that I created, and how I used it. So we should be looking at a screen now with my funnel report on it. And basically what this says is that in opportunity, I have 82 trips. Now, I took all of our trips here in GTO testing over time. So there's a lot of them that are just, messed up as far as, like, if you have personally 82 trips that you're building for yourself, great, good for you. But this is from all years as we've been doing the demo. And you'll see, so if I were looking at this, I would say to myself, I have 82 trips that I have the opportunity to build. So it just may be that, like, someone called up and said, or you might just think someone needs a trip. Or an opportunity could be someone is returning for a trip after they just took one. You go ahead and put it as an opportunity. I got to reach out. I need to do something with this to get the information I need to build a trip, right? And so if I have 3 or 4 of them in here, I might want to call Flashy Gordon or June Cleaver and get a little bit more information about their trip. And when I'm ready to start building it, I personally shove it into Discovery. By closing this, I'm now to the Discovery point, which these are the 2 trips that I have to build, right? I've got to go ahead and price these out. So I'm going to work on these. I'm going to price these bad boys out. And when I'm done, I can come back to this and close this. I got 2 in presentation. I'm just going to glance at these. Do I need to call Christina about this trip, or are we still waiting? We're just waiting to see what she wants to say. But I do need to follow up with whoever is the person on this trip, because I've got them in follow through. If I want to move some of these presentations to follow through, great. But I need to contact them for a follow through. So I do that. I do both of these things, and I go ahead and close these. I have to revise one. One of these wanted some revisions made, so I put it in revision. And here's the problem, is that most people don't want to take the time to do that part. Take the time to say, I need to put this into the revision status. But if you did, when you woke up the next morning, you would know exactly what you needed to do for the next day. So I would revise this one. I've got 2 that are pending. I accidentally clicked on a table here when it pulled out when I didn't want it to. So if you can just hang on for a second. So we'll go down here. And so I've got 2 that are in pending, right? So I'm going to make sure that I'm up to date on those. And then I know exactly how many are in commitment as well. So basically, this is your funnel. Like, what is it that you've got going on during all of this? And because you've organized them, you can see at a glance exactly what you have to do that day. You don't miss anything because it's in the system. And yeah, do you have to go in and change those statuses, or use those statuses, or figure out how? And if your company doesn't designate, like if you work for a large organization, and they don't want to use these, no problem. You can use them without any, it doesn't change. If someone doesn't have a process that includes them, you including them doesn't mean anything, because we all know that you still have to get to commitment regardless. So if you have them in a bunch of different categories for your sake, the company you're working for doesn't, if they're not using them, it doesn't make a difference.
Right. This is just an organizational suggestion for the worker, for the person who's putting these trips together. That way, at a glance, you can look at this and say, oh, this is the most important thing that I have to do today. Let me get that one done first. So if you've actually changed those statuses over, it gives you your goals basically for the day.
That's exactly right.
Brilliant.
I really, and then then when I was done with this, I could reach out to other clients, right? I could
Yep.
start getting other business, and you could do
Yeah.
it the other way around. If you like to call people in the morning, you could get your other business going, and then say, okay, well now I'm going to sit down and work on my funnel, and
Yep.
you can have this set, like this is set for all trips that we have in the system as that we've used over the years for demonstration. But you could have it set for dates that you're like you can have it once the trip is passed, you don't see it anymore, that sort of
Mhm.
thing. So that, I mean, it's a really good way. And I want you to also think in terms of, how can I apply this to something else? You can organize your activities by the same thing. You can have activities that are due today, but have different titles. Like if you have activities that are reach outs, you could have all those in a place, and you can just reach out one, bam, get those done, and then go on to the next category, because there are categories in activities. So you could apply it to anything that you're doing, sorting a report, and you say to yourself, can I build these reports? Yeah, a lot of places you can. I believe that people have the ability to build this sort of report. If you can't or can't figure it out, let us know. We'll help you through it. That's part of what we do here. You could set up office hours. You can email our help desk, which I believe is now below. You could do any of those sorts of things to guide and get some help on building some reports. But try it out first. Some people kind of like it. If you are of that ilk, some people really love making reports in the system, and that's just fine with us. We're happy to have it done. So the second thing I did, since I touched on activities, I don't have activities right now done like this because I don't work in the system, so I don't get any activities. I don't work in our sales system. But I wanted to mention to everybody that if you have activities that are rotational, meaning an activity comes to one person one time, and the next time the thing occurs, that activity goes to another person. I'll give a for instance. Let's say you move a trip to commitment, and one trip that you move to commitment signals one person that they need to do something. But then the next time a trip is moved to commitment, it signals the next person down the line. So you're running a rotation of who gets notified that a trip is moved to commitment. We are now capable of doing that in our system, to run a rotation for different things to happen, to trigger in the system. Remember, if there's a trigger in the system, changing something to something else, then we can create a useful process around that. We do it all the time, and we're going to talk about another way we do that in just a minute. But I did want to mention that when you're looking at that and you want to use sort of a rotational system instead, like right now, a lot of people say, okay, well, on a trip, we just want to notify the trip manager or the account manager. That's great. But let's say you have someone that oversees that person, but it's a different person all the time, and you want to rotate through them. It's sort of up to your imagination how you would want that to work. If you had a group of, or if you entered in a new lead and you wanted that lead to go to one salesperson one time, then the next time you enter in a lead, it goes into the next person. Then that's a rotational thing that can happen. So just a thought for you as you're planning. Again, let us know that that's what you want to do. That requires us to be able to set that up, and we can do that for you. Some of these other things I learned just in the last couple of months, as far as how people are using the system, and I find them fascinating. And so I thought I would share some of them. One of them very recently, I found somebody who wanted to do a little bit more than just tag an account with something. For instance, you could tag an account as, let's say you were an adult tour operator and you had a bunch of bank trips. And you wanted to keep a little bit closer handle on how many bank trips you did and how much money you're generating off of those bank trips. What you could do is tag everybody as a bank trip, but Another way to do it is to utilize the school district's area. So a school district, for those of you who are adult tour operators, school districts may seem unusable to you because your people don't use school districts. But let's say you do casino trips and you wanted to see exactly what your return on investment on a casino trip is. School districts is just a parent to an account. So it means that in the hierarchy, here's accounts and here's trips. So every trip has an account that reaches up to it. They can have many of them. Above the account is a school district. So a school district can have many accounts, right? They can have many accounts attached to them. So you could use that same philosophy and say, I'm going to do a school district name of casino. And then every account that is a casino, you would attach this as a parent company. So if I opened up this account test right now and I went to it, there is a place where you select your parent company right here, category demo, which is this school district, and it's listed here. So then what you would have is all your casinos listed here, right? So if you wanted to see where all your casinos were, this would be an easy way to figure it out without even having to run a report. You could just select them as casinos and run a report. What's cool here is that if you also wanted to know all the trips that sold that were attached to casinos, you could then click here, and then by casino, it would tell you what your committed trips were and how much money you're making off of all of them, which is a great, easy way to do that. You're saying to yourself, well, that's great. Why don't I do that for everything? Because if you have a casino that is also a water park and you want to do it for water parks, you can't do both. So an account can only be listed to one school district or one parent company. So you have to use it wisely, but it is quicker to do this than it is to generate a bunch of reports, right? And you'd see all the contacts that you had made with everybody in there, and you would see all the activities associated with those, and you would see all the attachments associated with them. So it's really kind of a cool way to utilize the system in a way that we didn't intend, but it saves you time and of course, and you can see what money you're making, right? Immediately. Your return on investment on whatever category you put up here is instantaneous, or your estimated revenue, because this is just sales, right? So right now, off this category demo, I am expected to make $106 off of these trips. It should be more, yes, I understand, but it's because we didn't fill out all the information on these demo trips. So, so just a thought for you as something that someone else has suggested. The last thing I sort of wanted to mention is I'm just going to pick a trip that's relatively recent in all right, and I'm in the old status because I was working with somebody, but you could still see their product list. So you're used to seeing this. This is just your list of products. And I have mentioned to you before many times that you could have us auto-populate things that are on every trip, right? We do it actually with hotel rooms, hotel room check-in and check-out. I believe the hotel checkout is always added when you add a hotel. And so if you had things that you were adding on there, direct, group leader gifts or lanyards for your passengers, and you're tired of adding them one at a time, we can automatically add those. But let's take it one step further, because this has occurred for several of our members too, is that when they're learning to put their trips together, they don't take into consideration the people at the back end in group accounting. So if you wanted to preload stuff that accounting's going to use, or preload them in a way that group accounting is going to, excuse me, if the group accounting would utilize something. I'm going to give a for instance. Some of you like to add tour director tip onto a tour director line item. But if that's paid separately, then you might want to enter it in as two separate items because they're going to get paid with two different checks from group accounting. That's kind of a bad example because that would probably still be one check, but you kind of see what I'm going with here. And if there are back-end fees, for instance, some of you mail things to people, and you know you mail things to people, but you never put it into the price of the trip. You could start doing that, and it gives group accounting a place to put that expense when you get there, right? So otherwise, group accounting has to add one, and you didn't budget for it. So it means that your profit margin is going to drop by a little. Now, you may not care about postage so much, but you may care about other things that you add to the trip later on, such as positioning of tour directors. Some people will forget to do that, but there are some companies who put in an amount automatically to do that. So the two things I want you to understand about when you're adding products is, one, we can do it automatically for every trip. And if you do it for most trips, it's easier to take them out than to add them in. And two, always put in products that your accountant also wants in there. And if you're saying, well, that takes more time for the salesperson, not if you automatically add them. So just something to keep in mind when doing products. I have two more. The next one is when we're talking about trip manager. I think Jim gets this question get asked a lot in demos and from our people, is when you're doing the booking process, basically it's by trip. So trip by trip by trip, you should be booking things. But a lot of companies, they're like, well, wait a minute. I need to go book Disney tickets, but I have to book Disney tickets for 6 groups. And I don't want to do it one at a time. Okay. So what you could do is I quickly created myself this table right here, or this report. I quickly created. You could create it. We could create it for you. This did not take me long. Basically what this is are trip products that need to be requested by the place that you're requesting it from. So for instance, we'll take 10-pin bowling. Hotel is easy. I could just request that right away off this. They're going to Ames, Iowa. I will tell you that's quite a commute for the show choir to get to Ames, Iowa from the Hotel Hanalei Bay in Hawaii. But that's how bad, by the way, GTO is at planning their trips. Just so you know. But 10-pin bowling, I've got 3. I've got 3 people that I needed to do, and you'll notice that one of them, obviously, they're all out of date. But these two right here. Are relatively close to one another in time. And instead of booking one, then going on and doing that whole trip and then going to book the other, you may want to do both of these at the same time. Now, we don't have a system with which to do that. Meaning, when you hit the button that says send the email, it's going to pop open an email with only one of those trips information on it. But if you wish to add another, or you wish to call them, or you wish to do that so that you're booking them both at the same time, that's fine. I will say that some companies are like, no, I don't want to do this because I need separate contracts. I want to keep track. And so I'm sure 10-pin bowling doesn't care that you emailed them twice because they're happy to get the business, which is all fine for a lot of these. But I wanted to sort of scroll down. And by the way, you can close all of these by collapsing all the groups. And when I scrolled down at the end, I thought to myself, okay, where is one that you might want to do it a different way? And the answer is, to me, Walt Disney World, Universal Orlando. See, all these others are 1, 2, 5. But I have 29 products that I need to book for Universal Orlando. So this may be a time when you want to look at this and book all the ones related to one another at the same time, because I don't know that Universal cares about your email. You probably have to go and do it through a different way. Anyway, this way you can sort of categorize that for this trip, like, and you could do it by product name. So if I did this and I went back to Walt Disney World, so now I can see a lot of these are document wording, but see, like, here are gift cards. Great. Here's performance packages. I am now got it sorted by the product name, so that if I wanted to see all the different people that I'm going to get gift cards for, right? I could get all of these gift cards at one time for these 3 accounts because I can see them all on this one report. We've done that for you in certain cases on your home dashboard, but I wanted to let you know you could do it and adjust it. You could do it just for Universal and just for Walt Disney World and leave the others alone. So just a thought for you, for those people who are like, well, no, we want to book all, the entire month's worth of stuff here. And that's certainly able for you to do in Trip products. And then the last one I had for you today.
When you're done, and when you're done with this last one, we have a couple questions too. So go.
Oh, right. I love questions. Okay. All right. So, accounting. I've come to a trip audit in accounting, group accounting. And I wanted to let you know that the trip audit page is not only good for auditing your trip. Remember, and people are starting to discover this who've come into group accounting and really started using it from last year to this year, because group accounting is relatively new, is that when you're done with everything on the trip, your trip audit is done too. But some people have discovered that sometimes the numbers don't match up and they're not sure why. And in every case, it has been somebody has entered something wrong into Trip Manager, meaning they didn't book it quite right. They didn't make the booking and the contract match. And so, but to figure that out sometimes is a little bit difficult. So in the trip audit, there are these different categories like income. And one of the nice things is that this tells you that you're still owed money, right? So this is telling you right now that people still owe you money on this trip. They've only paid this much. This is how much it is. That's for another story. For today, what we want to talk about are these two: total expenses paid and total expenses or total booked cost of all products. At the end of your trip, these two should match. And you're saying, why are there two? This is how much group accounting says you paid. And this is how much Trip Manager says you should have paid. And sometimes these numbers don't match. Even though all this stuff will match, it will still say you owe something, or you are owed, like it'll say either a positive or negative number. And you want to go find out what it is that's different. Well, the interesting thing about this is these we call them drill downs. You want to see what you've actually paid on this trip? I'm happy to provide that for you. When you click on that, it's going to show you a report eventually. Of all the things you've paid on this trip. Or all the things you haven't paid yet. Right? So all the stuff is here. When I open up the booked cost of all products, what I should see is an equal list. And what you would like to do is, if there's a discrepancy between the total amount due and the booked cost complete hotel, that's where your problem resides, right? So like, for instance, this says 660 and this says 660, which is great, right? But if you start seeing numbers being a little bit off, then you've booked it incorrectly. I don't see any. Some of these just haven't been booked yet, but we paid them because we were demonstrating group accounting. So I don't want you to think that yours will look like this ever. Unless you enter in your group accounting manually, you will never see that this number is there and this number being 0 because you would have booked it before you paid it. We did not in the demo stuff. So just be aware that you can, on this audit, drill down into anything that you'd like to see. Your total income, your total expenses. Like if you wanted to see exactly how much was paid, this should be a listing of your receivables. Anything blue is clickable anyway, right? So these are the receivables that I have received on this trip, or should have. Some haven't been paid yet, which is the reason why it's off. But if I wanted to just go back to that trip in group accounting, I could just click on the blue, and now I'm going to see that, right? A lot of times the blue won't show you anything fun. Like this just shows you who system admin is and they're registered. But anything that's blue like that, you can click on and navigate to something. So just be aware. Trip audit could be used to keep track of your stuff and their equalization. And so, yeah, that was it. All right, so we had questions.
Yes. This question comes from David. Is there a way to use the copy this product button, but make multiple copies of that product line?
Where do you remember where we were talking about? Are we talking about in sales? I'll speak about it to sales, and if whoever asked the question is still watching,
sales manager.
Sales manager.
Yep, on the proposals and sales manager.
All right. So if I have the right idea of what we're talking about, let us edit. I'm going to do that hotel checkout just because it doesn't matter. If I add a bunch of those, when you're adding the product, instead of using the copy product button, use the duplicate trip product checkbox. And that's going to give you a number of additional products that you want. Now, this is going to duplicate the product regardless. So what you want to make sure you do is, like, you want to say how many extra products you want to be added. So it's going to add the one you're on now. And if you're going to add the one beyond this one, it would be 1. So I'm going to add 4 on this one. And you hit save and close. When you do that, when I get to my products layout, I'm going to see, 5 of these hotel checkouts. The one that was there, and then the 4 more. So that's a easy way to add multiples of products, especially when you're talking about. I use it a lot, or I see it used a lot, but I used it a lot when it was breakfasts at hotels. Any sort of, like, that you're being picked up every morning. You can do, like, however many days you're on the trip. The nice thing about it, this is the other thing, is if you actually add too many, it's not like it's difficult to to delete that product out again. It's very, very quick and easy. So that's sort of that's a great streamline thing.
And also, David, on these, when you do multiple copies like that, all you have to do is assign a different date. So if you have 5 copies that you did, and they're all on like one specific date for a 5-day trip, you just go ahead and assign them to the different days, and then you'll have a breakfast on every day.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that way you go ahead and add all 5 of them at one time, and then just assign the specific dates once they're already on the trip. And just the whole grid edit on that.
Yeah, grid edit is your friend for sure.
And that's exactly what David just said too. He goes, use grid edit.
Good. Yeah, grid edit definitely is your friend.
Yep. David, thank you. Thanks for watching, and thanks for your input.
Absolutely. Well, that's all. I mean, I have actually tons more, but I'm already at the 40-minute mark. And, I could talk forever. But, and I think that we'll have some other really great ideas that have come up over time that other people are going to want to share to sort of, I mean, Kara, who's doing all our onboarding, I'm sure has lots of things where she's like, oh, I've seen people do this. I think it's a great way to help utilize the system faster.
Right.
We know it's big, we know it's powerful, and we want to make sure that we get it as simplified down as possible, but contain all the power that we want it to have as well. So,
and that's the thing, with, as I was saying, this is our 4th season of doing Coach and Go. And the reason we always have more information to share is because we're always adding features, adjusting features, getting feedback from you as to the ways that you're using it and that's helping you. And a lot of times those same suggestions that you've given are helping other members as well. So it makes it much easier for us to share that information. So we have that coming up in future episodes of GTO Coach and Go. Couple things. Coach and Go does happen every other Tuesday at 2:00 Eastern. So our next one, we're hopefully going to have a live from ABA Marketplace floor, Coach and Go with Corey and I. For those of you who are going to be at Marketplace, please make sure to visit us. We're going to be in Philadelphia from February 1st to the 4th. We're in booth 747. Like the big airplane. So make sure to come visit us. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to be introducing a couple of new features while we're there at ABA. So make sure to stop by and visit us, even if it's just for a few moments to say hello. And we would love to talk to you. We would love to see you. So ABA, again, we are going to be there on the marketplace floor on booth 747. Excellent. Corey, thank you so much for all of this great information today. David, thank you for joining us, and thank you for the comments and everything. We always value the feedback that we get from our members, and it's hugely important to us for you to give us that feedback so we can continue to tweak our system and make it the most efficient system for you. We want to try to make your job as painless as possible and take away the pain points of group travel planning. And that's what GTO has been here for. So we thank you for that. And Corey, we will talk again very, very soon. And then we'll be together in Philadelphia in just a week and a half. My gosh.
Nice. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you next time right here on GTO Coach and Go. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of GTO Coach and Go. We invite you to stay connected with Group Travel Odyssey on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and be sure to check out more of our media, including Destination Dispatch and the Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast. Please visit our website, grouptravelodyssey.com, where you can learn more about GTO and request a demo. Group Travel Odyssey, business without boundaries.